Hello lovely people, welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Lou, I'm a Manchester United fan, and today we are going to talk about Harry Maguire, the man of the hour. So Harry Maguire joined Manchester United for a then world record fee for a defender of £80 million from Leicester, and within 6 months he was made the club captain by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So straight away, world record fee for a defender and club captain within 6 months. That is an enormous amount of pressure, and I think there's a whole lot of people that up until recently would have said Harry Maguire did absolutely not meet his price tag. I think he'll forever be on those debates of flop or success when you're taking into account the £80 million. Now for me at this point, I do feel that we've got our money's worth. I think it was an enormous fee, and I don't think we paid the right amount of money for him. But at that time in our club, we weren't paying the right amount of money for anybody, and that's really not Harry Maguire's fault. However, I do think the length of time he's been at the club and what he's gone through with us as a club, I do feel that he's probably at this point earned his fee. But I think it will always be one of those debates that people have, and I can totally understand people that would say, do you know what, nah, for the money we paid for him, he was a bit of a flop. It's very hard to argue with because he really has had such a tumultuous time with us. For most of his time at Manchester United, he was known as one half of Maguire, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, and for a long time, many fans, including myself, said that this pairing was just absolutely not good enough to be the centre two at Manchester United. Not when we've seen the likes of, Vidic and Rio. That's to go to Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof just felt like such a step down. And I think for much of that time, many people believed that actually Victor Lindelof was the better player and Harry Maguire was the person holding him back. However, in more recent times, we did see Victor Lindelof get injured and obviously then exit the club, and we've had the opportunity to see Harry Maguire playing with other centre-backs and in other formations, and actually I think he has, excel's probably a bit far, but I think he's really come out of himself, and I think he's been a far better player since he's not playing with Victor Lindelof than when he was. So my question there is, okay, was it actually Victor Lindelof that was holding Harry Maguire back rather than the other way around? Was it that the combination he was in didn't work for him? So that's one of the questions. The next thing is that he was stripped. So after he was made the club captain within 6 months, he was then stripped of the club captaincy by Erik ten Hag in 2023. That, apart from being absolutely humiliating on a huge public level, it wasn't that Erik ten Hag came in as a new manager and said, okay, I'm the new manager, I'm going to pick a new captain. He waited a year. So Erik ten Hag came to us and officially started his role in July of 2022. He didn't make the decision to change the captain from Harry Maguire to Bruno Fernandes until July of 2023. That makes it even more difficult because if you're the new manager coming in going, look, new manager, new training staff, new coaches, new captain, you can kind of get away with that and say, okay, he's looking for a clean slate, it's nothing really personal. When he waits a year and then publicly tells everybody, you know what, you're not the guy, I'm picking somebody else. While many fans at the time probably would have agreed with that decision, it had to be incredibly difficult for Harry Maguire and the mental space that he must have been in when that happened. You would have to be a really, really strong person to stick around and to see people celebrating the fact that you've essentially been demoted in your workplace. So that had to be a really tough time for him. But I thought he handled it really, really well. I think his attitude was second to none, and I think it really showed the mentality that he had. So he didn't come out publicly criticising the club or Erik ten Hag. He wasn't posting silly stuff on his social media. He was the consummate professional in every interview that he did. It was always about the club. It was always about the team. It was never about him as an individual. And I think that is a mentality that many of our players have lacked over the last decade and certainly over the last 5 to 6 years. So to see that in Harry Maguire is something that's really important. And I think it's something that we should be holding on to in our club, that attitude. That obviously brings us to the present day, where Harry Maguire is coming in clutch, scoring headers last minute, saving us all over the place, and is not only good defensively but obviously also an aerial threat in our opponent's box, and has really saved our skin in a number of matches. So our club are currently deciding, it appears, whether they're going to offer Harry Maguire a new contract, and therefore the fans are obviously getting involved and debating this. Harry Maguire is currently on £190,000 a week, which is an awful lot of money when, even if he stays for another year, he's not our future and he's not realistically going to be one of our starting centre-backs. That's likely going to be Yarrow and De Ligt, and it seems to be the third spot is up for grabs, but Harry Maguire doesn't seem to be the first person on the list when that spot is getting filled. So £190,000 a week is quite expensive. Now, we did this already with Jonny Evans. He was on a bit in years. He wasn't really going to be playing a lot of games, but he knew the club, he had the right attitude, and he was a good mentor for the younger players. So we kept him around an extra year, and he was almost a mascot. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but he was really there to help in terms of mentality and help carry the younger players through, rather than he was there to play minutes on the team. And I think if we decide to offer Harry Maguire a year extension or a new contract for another year, that's exactly what he's going to be. He's going to be in the Jonny Evans role as I see it. I don't really think it's going to be about minutes, even though he's obviously still physically capable of doing that. I think it's going to be about the mentality that he has shown throughout his years at Manchester United, and it's going to be about instilling that mentality and setting a good example for the younger players around him. Obviously, we do not want to pay £190,000 a week for that. So for me, I would actually be one of the people that's happy to keep Harry Maguire for another year for exactly the reasons I've just talked about. However, that would be conditional on a drastic pay cut. I certainly wouldn't be paying him over 100k a week. I'd be looking at maybe like literally in half, maybe 80-90k a week. He's there on the bench if we need him. If someone gets injured, he's there, and he's there to kind of usher in the next sort of round of players there into the defence. So the likes of Lenny Yarrow, who is obviously fantastic talent, but in terms of mentality, you know, it's nice to have somebody there behind him kind of saying, look, this is what I did in that situation. If the fans get a bit annoyed at you, this is how I dealt with it. This is what it's like to play at Old Trafford. And then obviously Aidan Heaven, who appears to be coming through behind there as well. So as I said, I'd be one of the people that would be happy enough to keep Harry Maguire for another year. I think he has shown so much loyalty to our club. I know people will say, well, we've paid for that, but we've paid for big players before. We've paid big money for players, and that hasn't always instilled loyalty. I think Harry Maguire has been a consummate professional. I think his attitude is fantastic. And to be honest, I actually think we have seen better leadership from Harry Maguire since the captaincy was stripped from him than we did while he was captain. I think stripping the captaincy from him appeared to set him free in a way that he wasn't before, and I think actually we've seen the best of him since that. And it would be really nice, you know, kind of a handover of the baton. As I said, we've already done this with Jonny Evans. It worked quite well. We have Harry Maguire next. I would say if he does agree to the pay cut, it's likely that it's going to happen. And then obviously he'll be gone and we'll be left with our kind of new guys there going forward. What I will say is that while I'd be happy enough to have him for another year, I do completely understand the people that say, no, we have to be ruthless. This guy has underperformed. He has not been the level that we expect of a Manchester United centre-back. He failed as a captain. He is from a bygone era, several bygone eras if we want to be, pedantic about it. And really, it's just time to let him move on. The likes of Shaw should be going as well. The likes of Dallow. Several of the players that just have been here after manager after manager after manager. We just need to clear it all out. Here's an opportunity to get rid of one more. Let him go. So I completely understand that point of view. It just wouldn't be mine. And I don't think there's any harm at a reduced rate of pay having him there as a backup, because let's face it, This season, touch wood, so far we've not been too bad, but at our club in recent years, we know what it's like to just have an absolute string of injuries, and I think there's no harm in having some backup there while the other players are developing themselves and coming through. I also think it takes a little bit of pressure off those players to know, look, if they're not feeling up to it, if there's a niggle there, if something happens, or if they're underperforming and they just need to step out of the spotlight for a match, that we have someone experienced like Harry Maguire ready to step in. So, tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Am I mental? Should he be gone? Get rid of everything from the past? We're starting with a clean slate. Do you agree that yes, he has an elite mentality? He's a super professional. It's beneficial from the younger players to have him there. Let me know your thoughts. Please hit a like on the video, and hopefully I will talk to you all very soon.